叮咚叮咚，大家好，我是文心，感谢您来到战友之声。今天贵在行动呢，要为大家准备的一个是雷根的战略师啊，雷根总统的战略策师Roger Robinson 的一段演讲。那今天是2019年的7月23号，现在时间是礼拜二下午的7点钟。想跟大家说的这一段呢，其实这段等一下要请文成播放出来的呢，是今年5月8号这个 Roger Robinson 的一个演讲。他呢曾经协助雷根总统制定解体苏共的经济金融战略设计师。他目前在之前在党委会的一个演讲当中提到就是中共对美国资本市场的渗透，以及对金融领域构成的严重威胁挑战呢，分分钟在发生。同时，他也点名好几个坏蛋的中共企业侵害中国人权，威胁美国的国安。Roger Robinson 呢，真正的头衔呢是一个布拉格安全研究学院的总裁。他在这段视频当中提到了，就是什么是美中经济关系当中下一个重大的问题。美国对于中共进入渗透美国资本市场正在展现出新形态。Roger Robinson 在下面的谈话当中也会提到就是目前在中共有超过650家公司，其中有500多家都是在场外交易的，因为这个市场的监管是最薄弱的，受到那些想规避审查，还有就是很多的讯息要披露的，他们都不同意。那这位Roger Robinson 呢，他在演讲中提到，就说如果客气点来说呢，这些高风险的企业我们可以称它是高风险的企业，如果不客气的说，他们就是坏蛋公司。他们不但威胁到美国的国家安全，同时对人权的践踏也是令人发指的。那目前美国证券市场上有上市的这个海康威视、中国联通、中国船舶集团等等等等，都是重要的共军的承包商。尤其海康威视呢，这些公司呢已经被抓到证据，就是他们协助中共的人权迫害。这些公司对美国的经济威胁金额超过了上万亿美金。那他们融资的来源是哪里呢？就是美国的投资者，其中有很多是美国的退休金的投资组合。我们现在来听这个 Roger Robinson 的这段演讲，有请文成把这段播放出来，给战友们一起观赏，谢谢您。
I'm delighted to be here. I've had the chance to participate in a number of committee sessions on a subject that is going to be new to many of you who haven't been following the work of this committee perhaps to date. But we've certainly tried to use this forum as an instrument of bringing to light a really truly shocking new front in the struggle with Beijing. And that is their access to and use of resources pulled from our capital markets. And for those that aren't sort of Wall Street aficionados, we're talking about the stock and bond markets of the United States, which are, roughly speaking, the size of the rest of the world's combined. I mean, once upon a time in the early 80s, when I was struggling with the Soviet threat, along with the president and a number of his inner circle, notably Bill Clark, as National Security Advisor, at that time we had a monopoly, and it was a key monopoly having to do with natural gas deliveries to Western Europe. We controlled the only oil and gas equipment and technology that could drill through permafrost, that because of our North Slope experience in Alaska, and leave it to say we used that leverage very effectively to stop the Soviets from utterly dominating Western Europe's natural gas markets and doubling their hard currency income in the process. They'd still be muddling through. You wouldn't have to worry about Putin. You'd be worrying about the Soviet Union today. So this was not a given that this was going to all work out, I can tell you right now. And we did have to break them into matchsticks vis-a-vis their hard currency cash flow and their access to Western government and commercial bank credits, which were underwriting 100% of the hard currency cost of the external Soviet empire. That's a disturbing fact. And we're in a kind of twisted, similar circumstance today with a much more diverse economy, a much larger economic juggernaut, a much greater threat in many respects in the People's Republic of China. However, although we've lost our monopoly on oil and gas equipment and technology of the type that we enjoyed in the early 80s, we do have a new monopoly, kind of, in the 21st century, and that is we have all the money. We have the investable capital. About 40+%, depending on estimates, are residing here. The Japanese, who are in lockstep with us on what I'm going to be talking to you about and have known about this for years, and I've worked with them very closely at the highest levels, they control 20% of the world's investable capital, so the two of us are 60% of the action, would be my rough guess. Now, do we need the Japanese? No. Would it be a nice touch to have them? Very much so. And we hope that they'll stay in train with us. As far as Europe's concerned, as usual, we have a very different philosophy, as you just heard from our previous speaker. They're obviously in the go-along to get-along mode with Beijing, much as they were with the Soviet Union. It's kind of an Asian Ostpolitik all over again. We just can't seem to get it right when we talk about common values and principles on national security. However, let's hope. But I'm certainly not going to rely on our European friends in this particular context. I'm here in the capacity, as I might mention, as a chairman of the Prague Security Studies Institute, a think tank that I established nearly 20 years ago in Prague in the Czech Republic, so that I can be a little more freewheeling in my comments. I do have a day job called RWR Advisory Group, and in that capacity we've developed over the past, some 7 years ago, a software tool called Intel Track that tracks and visually maps every external transaction of China and Russia worldwide, every day. And we have 7 years of data to date, and all different ways to search it and display it. So that gives us a very granular feel for what they're doing, not what they're saying, which is absolutely key, as you know, particularly as everybody's gilding the lily on the true story here. So that said, we have a big problem that lots of you have never heard of, that you're not going to see on television, that you're not going to see in a testimony. You're not going to even hear about it at a cocktail party. You're not going to see one administration meeting on it. You're not going to see one congressional caucus on it. You're not going to see anything at the state and local level on it in America. And yet it implicates $40 to $60 trillion of funds under management. And it is the national security dimensions of China's rapidly expanding presence in the U.S. capital markets. We hear lots about trade, we hear lots about tariffs, in part because the Chinese are comfortable with that subject. They can play that game all day long, as we're finding out. Sure, it might be painful, highly manageable, right? I wonder why the money never comes up. Isn't that interesting? Because that's where they live and die. That's why it doesn't come up. And Wall Street, you can be sure, never wants this to see the light of day, the conversation we're having now. Because there's this little natty problem that in the history of the United States, we've never screened, vetted, performed due diligence, whatever term of art you'd like to use, on Who are the Chinese coming to our markets? Who are their network of subsidiaries? What are their track records in national security and human rights abuses? Have we ever looked? No. Do we have any mechanism to look? No. Is the SEC in charge of this and supposed to be looking? Yes. Why? Because these are material asymmetric risk to share value and corporate reputation. I mean, let's put aside our type of feelings of patriotism and national security and doing the right thing. You're not going to get very far with those sentiments in Wall Street, sadly. But if you talk about material risk, when you talk about disclosure, transparency, corporate governance, risk management, rule of law, reliable statistics, you can get the market's attention there because that's their lingo. And if we don't use their lingo, we're going to be talking about this and whistling past the graveyard 5 or 10 years from now when we're so deep in Chinese securities, probably 36 months from now, that you wake up one morning like another 150 million Americans, and you find that 12, 14, 17, 22% of your retirement account and your investment portfolios are in Chinese securities. Well, guess what? You've got most of the American people that's going to be lobbying for there to be no sanctions or penalties against China because of the damage it could do to their investment portfolios. Do we really think that Beijing is not alert to this? Do we really think that this isn't the secret plan? Do we really think that while we're looking at the shiny object of trade that they're comfortable us concentrating on, that we're missing trillions of dollars moving into our markets insidiously from bad actors? Who do I mean by bad actors? I mean advanced weapons manufacturers for the PLA. I mean human rights abusers that are selling the surveillance cameras and the facial recognition technology to incarcerate over 1 million Uyghurs in Xinjiang in concentration camps, who are picking up Tibetans at train stations, to make sure that they're cowed and incarcerated for that matter. In other words, major human rights aiders and abettors of abuse. We've got sanctions violators. We've got known hackers. We've got South China Sea island builders and those militarizing those islands. We have nuclear and missile underwriters for North Korea. We have proliferators of weapons of mass destruction and ballistic missiles. Is this who we had in mind financing with our hard-earned retirement dollars? Is this what we have in mind faceless fund managers doing with our money? This is not some abstraction. This isn't my view of missile defense versus yours. I mean, a more intellectual conversation. This involves your money. And how many of us know what's in our portfolios? I sure don't. Again, when you're looking at your pension system, you're looking at thousands of companies in little small print, right? And you don't know what's actively managed, what stocks they're buying individually, what they're holding passively through index funds and exchange-traded funds, mutual funds. Nobody has the time to plow through that to see what their exposure is to the People's Republic of China, and particularly the bad actors that reside there. We rely on professional fund managers to do that. There's only one small problem. They don't give a damn about the national security and human rights considerations of the United States. They're not tuned in to our principles and values and moral compass. I don't mean all, of course. But they're about return on investment. And they're about how they interpret their fiduciary responsibility. So that is a big problem, and we need to make them care. I mean, you need to be asking them what your exposure is to China. Guess what? They won't be able to answer you. You want to know what their subsidiaries of those parent companies, who are they? They can't answer that. They have no clue. In fact, they'll stonewall you till the end of time if you're not doggedly persistent. What about your state legislators? What about your local media? What about all the folks that you could mobilize, your congressmen and senators, state senators? In other words, there's a lot that we could all be doing if we were activists on this, to expose this into the light of day. You know, how much do the Chinese have in our markets? Are we talking about a few billion here and there? No, no, no. Hundreds of billions, maybe as much as $1 trillion, are there now. They want 2 or 3 trillion more in the next 36 months. MSCI, Emerging Market Index, $2 trillion subscribe to that index, 14 trillion more mimic that index, meaning buy reflexively whatever MSCI buys. 16 trillion, right? Well, MSCI has increased its weighting, given China, 4-fold, and are buying hundreds of Chinese companies right out of the mainland, A-shares, as they're called, and putting them into the MSCI index, where all of that 16 trillion in funds under management has to buy that stock. It's not like I want this stock and I don't want that stock. That's not your option. No, no, no. You buy the whole package. So who's in the MSCI index? I'll tell you, Hike Vision, the concentration camp boys on surveillance cameras, Dawa Technologies, same category on human rights, AVIC, PLA, advanced fighter aircraft, multiple sanctions in the United States, UAVs, all kinds of equipment. China Shipbuilding, oh, who are they? Only ballistic missile submarines, including boomers, with ICBMs targeting our cities. Gee, is that what you had in mind with your retirement dollars? Let's underwrite them, why don't we? Let's underwrite China Communications and Construction Company that built the South China Sea Islands. In other words, the list goes on. I'm giving you a small sampling. Now, we did 2 years of research on this. We only started to surface these findings in March of this year. So that's why we're only gathering momentum now. And I'm grateful to the committee for having provided the platform to do this kind of thing. And I'll just say one quick word about the Russians. I don't want to ignore them completely. They have 25 companies in our markets by our last count. 24 of them in the over-the-counter market, because it's where the Chinese love to be too, because it's less regulated and no transparency and so forth. You know, what a free lunch that is. 7 of the 25 Russian companies are sanctioned by the United States. You can't do business with them with a 100-foot pole. But you can sure invest at them, and you can sure fund them with your money. Has anybody ever looked? Does anybody care? No. Is this have a kind of a deliberate feel to you a little bit? Or is this just, we missed it? You're missing 40 to 60 trillion? I don't think so. So here's where we really are, ladies and gentlemen. So I want us to preserve the rest of the time, if there is any, for questions. But I appeal to you to see if to test the system and to go to your fund managers and just play this out and see what happens and see if I'm right about the stone wall. And then go to your state legislator and then go to your local media and say, what's up with this? I can't get answers. Maybe the LA Times can with CalPERS. That's a story, by the way, by itself that doesn't quit, that the Epoch Times just did a huge expose on. And I'll tell you, if you want to see something troubling, you might turn to that sometime soon, by Nan Su.
Tell us.
Well, the former deputy chief investment officer of China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange, SAFE. It really controls their foreign exchange reserves. $3 trillion of funds under management right there. a gentleman by the name of Ben Ming. He was honored by being in China's 1,000 Talents plan. Well, that's a kind of a recruiting, ultimately prestigious headhunting operation that helps bring in Western expertise into China and then back out to be deployed in the West so that they can take advantage of the wisdom and experience and the professionalism and so forth. But is there anything else going on there? Only that the FBI in December 2008 called the TTP, the 1,000 Talent Plan, part of what they called non-traditional espionage. That's a nice term of art. In other words, I'm not accusing Mr. Meng of anything in particular here. I'm just suggesting that look at his position today. He is Chief Investment Officer of the California Public Employees Retirement System, the largest in the United States, at $370 billion of funds under management. That's an interesting coincidence. So I wonder, how many of these firms CalPERS is holding of the illustrations I just gave you off the cuff? All of them. All of them. Okay? And this is a sampling. So that's where we are. So again, no accusations being made here. These are just reported facts of the case. You can connect the dots as you deem indicated, just so that we protect the innocent here, namely myself. But in any event, please, if you have questions, but I urge you to take this one on board, because this is the Eastern Front. I don't know how to give you a sense of the scale of this. This is bigger than trade, ladies and gentlemen. That's all you see and hear about. This is bigger, right? And who utterly dominates the economic and financial domain on the planet Earth anyway? I'll tell you who does. We do. Utterly and completely. So what's up with this? This is our sandbox they're playing in. We're not playing in theirs. This is not a right. This is a privilege. And we need to remember that. And we should be screening. Not one Chinese company has ever been delisted from the New York from any U.S. exchange for national security or human rights abuses. Ever. That's odd. And the list goes on.
刚刚战友们看到的就是5月8号 Roger Robinson 的一段演讲啊。其实我们还知道啊，这个白宫国安会的战略规划师啊，这个高级主任Robert Spalding 啊 ，Robert Spalding， 他提到啊，就是中共了解他们能够刺激企业的行为围绕他们政权的利益在运作，他们就会利用美国制定的规则来战胜美国。另外，美国的联邦众议员Scott Perry 也说了，美国需要在很多层面上有所警醒。我不知道这样要付出多少代价，但是当我们等得太久代价会很高非常感谢战友们今天跟我们一起交流我今天播放的就是 Roger Robinson 的演讲，非常感谢各位的收看，下次见。